Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the other side of the news. I'm going to change the format yet again today. We're going to look at the Wall Street Journal. They're now sending me in PDF form, so this will be easier for all of us. Let's get started. From the front page, we have Trump urges schools to open, takes aim at CDC guidelines. Let's look at those guidelines. What's Trump complaining about? President Trump pushed federal health officials to ease coronavirus guidelines for schools and threatened to withhold federal funding from districts that don't reopen, stepping up his effort to get children back in the classroom. In tweets on Wednesday, Mr. Trump wrote that he disagreed with the Federal Centers for Disease Control and Prevention on their very tough and expensive guidelines for opening schools, which he said are asking schools to do very impractical things, unquote. Well, it goes on like that. Actually, I agree with Trump. Schools need to reopen, and you can't expect a room that only fits 30 kids or 32 kids or whatever number is to all of a sudden, have social distancing of 6 feet. It's unrealistic. It's ridiculous. I just also saw that New York City is going to want to like half open the schools and half do remote learning. I mean, come on. If you're a student, you're getting screwed, folks. Remote learning is for the birds. Kids need to be in school. You're going to have to live with this virus, but kids need to be in school. So Trump is right there. Okay. Next, United explores 45% cut to staff as travel slump. Well, what they're doing, they explored it, yes, but really what the article says is that they sent out a mandatory letter to the 36,000 employees that could be laid off if travel doesn't return, blah, blah, blah. So we'll see what happens there. Let's take a look at what's news over here in the left column. I just talked about United said it was exploring the possibility of shedding almost half of its U.S. workforce. That's 36,000 employees, going on furlough. Facebook and its critics tried to win over advertisers after an audit found continued problems with how the firm polices hate speech and other content on its platform. It really doesn't police it. That's the problem. As soon as they deal with that, they're going to have to hire a few 100,000 people. When they hire the people to look at the crap that's on Facebook, well, then they'll get to the root of the problem. The problem is they're trying to let computers look at this stuff, and they got too much crap there, and they're trying to save money. They're making billions of dollars from advertising, but they don't want to spend any of their money. Well, that's why they're in a problem. A federal judge dismissed a GM lawsuit accusing Fiat Chrysler of bribing union officials to gain an advantage on its labor costs. Well, maybe GM should just mind their own business and get to work. Well, this is interesting. Universities sue over foreign student ban. Harvard University and MIT sued the Trump administration in federal court over new rules barring international students from staying in the U.S. while taking classes entirely online this fall. The suit filed Wednesday in the U.S. District Court seeks a temporary restraining order prohibiting the government from enforcing rules that were laid out Monday by the U.S. Immigration. Among the restrictions, those foreign students attending schools offering classes only online can't be in the U.S. to take their web-based courses, and those whose schools are offering hybrid or in-person classes must be here to participate. Colleges and foreign students swiftly criticized the rules, saying they erected unnecessary obstacles that will prevent some from continuing or beginning their academic careers. Local governments cut spending. Education takes much of the reductions. 1.5 million jobs have been shed since March. State and local governments from Georgia to California are cutting money for schools, universities, and other services as the coronavirus-induced recession wreaks havoc on their finances. Widespread job losses and closed businesses have reduced revenue from sales and income, forcing officials to make agonizing choices in budgets for the new fiscal year, which started July 1st in much of the country. Well, as I said before, maybe local governments need to cut their bloated governments and leave schools alone. Yeah, but, nobody listens to me. Floyd told police officers before pitting he feared being killed. George Floyd told the Minneapolis police officers who arrested him that he couldn't breathe, was claustrophobic, and afraid of being killed by police before being pinned to the ground by officers, according to court filings that provide new details of his May 25th killing. The filing came from an attorney representing Thomas Lane, one of the officers charged in the killing, who asked a Hennepin County judge to dismiss charges of abetting second-degree murder against his client, saying the officer didn't play an intentional role in the slaying. Mr. Lane said the officers had pinned Mr. Floyd to the ground while he was struggling, while being arrested, including smashing his head against glass inside the squad car until he bled. In other words, Mr. Floyd was smashing his own head. The filing includes transcripts of body camera footage and interviews with Mr. Lane, who said he believed Mr. Floyd was in medical distress and repeatedly asked his more senior officer, Derek Chauvin, if they should roll Mr. Floyd on his side. Next, U.S. seeks to bar asylum to migrants from disease hubs. What does this mean? The Trump administration proposed a new set of rules that would block migrants from applying for asylum if they came from or passed through a country with a widespread contagious disease such as coronavirus. This would, in effect, block nearly all asylum seekers at the U.S. southern border, applying for any form of humanitarian protection in the U.S. that would put them on a fast track for deportation instead. Oh my God, Trump and this stupid, asylum thing. The courts keep on saying that he can't arbitrarily take asylum, the rights of people asking for asylum away, and he keeps on trying to come around way. And I don't know who he expects this to resonate with. The hardcore 25% of his base love it, but who cares? They're going to vote for him anyway. So why does he keep on pressing these things that other people don't like? Bannon work. Oh, what is this? Bannon work, part of U.S. probe of Exile. What Exile? FBI looks into Chinese businessman funding source, a firm that hired ex-Trump aide. Oh, so Bannon's working for the Chinese? Biden and Sanders allies agree. Allies of Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders are recommending the Democratic Party support eliminating carbon emissions from power plants by 2035 and making it easier to prosecute police for civil rights violations, offering the latest evidence the party is uniting behind a common agenda faster than in 2016. The recommendations released Wednesday by the Biden campaign and compiled by task forces made up of people chosen by the former vice president and the Vermont senator are expected to form the base of the Democratic Party platform, which will be formally voted on at the convention next month, according to people familiar with the plan. Yeah, okay. Well, if Biden's just going to accept whatever Sanders wants, then he's going to lose the election because people didn't want Sanders. I don't know. I think the Democratic Party is just losing it. They're going off the deep end. How are you going to eliminate carbon from power plants by 2035? That's 15 years from now. What's the plan? What are we gonna burn? People are idiots. If we go all nuclear, we go all nuclear. If they say that in the platform, they'll make some sense. Otherwise than that, what are they going to do? We're going to go all solar, and so that we won't have power at night. That sounds like a wonderful idea. Impeachment witness Vindman to exit Army. Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman, the Army officer who testified last year against President Trump during House impeachment, announced he's retiring from the service. Yeah, because bottom line, they're not going to promote him. He might as well get out at this point. It's ridiculous. Plasma-derived drug to be tested. That's interesting. Drug maker Emergent Biosolutions Incorporated plans to work with Mount Sinai Health Systems in New York City to test whether a drug derived from the blood plasma of recovered COVID-19 patients can prevent infections in doctors, nurses, and military forces. The proposed study, which the partners announced Wednesday, would add to efforts evaluating the coronavirus fighting potential of experimental drugs made from plasma donated by recovered patients. If the drug proves to work safely, it would help protect healthcare workers and other people working in essential jobs who are at high risk of infection until a vaccine is ready and perhaps even after. And U.S. cases exceed 3 million. We surpassed 3 million cases. The virus spread rapidly in the nation's three most populous states. Climbing case counts in California, Texas, and Florida drove the U.S. to new single-day records of infections, 60,000. Okay, Greater New York. Let's look at this. Cuomo de Blasio spar over New York City schools. Well, de Blasio basically doesn't care about students. He pretends he does, but he doesn't. The governor is slightly better in that respect. The governor calls the mayor's plan to reopen in the fall reckless premature. Oh, this is interesting. New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio unveiled a plan Wednesday to reopen the nation's largest school district this fall using a mix of schedules in different schools that would have most children learning in classrooms for 1 to 3 days a week and remotely the other days. Oh, what a stupid plan that is. The mayor said his preliminary plans would balance the safety of the district's 1.1 million students and staff with the need for academic progress. Well, wait a second. If we're going to have academic promise at 3 days a week, we don't need schools 5 days a week. In fact, why don't we just go to 1 day a week? In fact, why don't we just eliminate schools? I can't read this. Sorry, folks. This is just too annoying. And the governor Cuomo called this number premature. He would like the team would issue guidance for all the state schools. Districts must submit proposals. We don't do this. We don't do that. But the bottom line is they've made it very political. I don't think they really care about kids learning. Until kids are back in school, not much is going to happen with the kids. So if you're home taking care of your kids, homeschooling your kids, you may have to homeschool the kids until they go off to college. Okay, thank you for watching. Okay, thank you so much for watching The Other Side of the News today, July 9th, 2020. Until tomorrow, bye-bye.